Well, she is one inspiring woman in the sports media field, and I am really humbled to be able to showcase her today. Lya Vallat, Senior Coordinating Producer, NFL Network. She joins me on the On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley with Fox Sports Radio. We're going to look at Lya's career, what she's done, and have a lot of whole fun doing it. And Lya, as I welcome you in, motherhood has hit you now. And my first question is, as I sort of welcome you into the program here, is what does being a mom satisfy you in a way that you couldn't get any satisfaction out of in sports media?
Oh, wow. I mean, you went for the hardest question off the top. And before I answer that, it's a very good question. Before I answer that, I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh,
yeah. The fact that you're doing the interview with me after Meg Aronowitz, the great Meg Aronowitz, I mean, there's no way I can compete with that. So I apologize to everyone watching, but this is not going to be as great as your interview with Meg, because Meg is the GOAT. So just wanted to put you on notice, put everyone else on notice.
And again, not to add any extra pressure to you to try and reach your status as far as their interview. I thought the interview went well, and I think this interview is going to go swimmingly as well.
Okay, good.
So, and I know for a fact, I'm sure, Lya, that Meg will check this interview out.
Oh, of course.
So you better be on your best behavior, because you're going to hear it from her, if anything.
She'll probably text me right after and say, the check's in the mail, thanks.
Yes.
No, I had the privilege of working with and for Meg at ESPNU in Charlotte for 3 or 4 years. And she literally helped my career and gave me opportunities. And, you know, there's not a lot of women in this industry. And so, you know, it was the first time that I actually worked with a woman that was kind of doing what I was doing in the business. But she literally had the patience and the trust and the respect to give me a ton of opportunities. So definitely, I'm grateful to follow Meg Aronowitz.
You are
in your line of interviews that you're doing.
And obviously, because of what you said about her, she's very grateful to have you in her corner as well.
Oh, good.
And I'm sure that the feeling is certainly mutual. The respect you have for her, it goes right back the other way. So from a perspective of you entering the world of being a parent,
yes,
what does that do for you that being in sports media doesn't?
Gives me a lot more patience and literally changes your perspective on life. For the past 25 years, my job has been my life, you know, and in sports television, sports happens on the weekends and holidays. And so you're away from your family, you're traveling, you have weird work schedules and everything. Again, not complaining, because it's the greatest job ever to be able to cover sports for your career. But I would say being a mom just puts everything in perspective. And, you know, my priorities have changed a little bit. And it will be interesting when I go back to work, how I kind of settle in. But not only that, but like paying attention to my bosses and my coworkers and saying, okay, what Lya are we going to get when she comes back? Because I do work with a lot of people that have kids. I'm a little bit late in the game for that, but for the most part, it's been very, you know, supportive. Everyone's checking in left and right, and the gifts are still piling up and stuff. So I would just say patience and just more so than anything, just priorities. And maybe we'll do a follow-up interview after I've been back to work in a couple months, and I can give you like the actual answer. But yeah, I would say priorities have definitely changed.
Patience is something you've been big about. Another motto, and it's a quote that you have sort of channeled your life around, is a quote that goes, being your true self is the best gift you can give yourself. So thinking about that, how does that apply to you, Lya? And how do you want to teach that to your daughter, Lennon?
Yeah, well, it all started back when I actually came out as gay, and that was in college. And then in my first job, I, you know, looked myself in the mirror and I said, okay, should I tell everybody or should I keep it to myself? And then I just looked at myself in the mirror and I just said, okay, to be your true self is the best that you can be. And you owe it to yourself. And so from my first job until now, I've always been very open about who I am. And I've had colleagues, numerous colleagues come up to me and, you know, have just appreciated my honesty with myself, because it hasn't always been easy. And in the end, if it, you know, inspired someone else to be their true self, then I think, you know, it was all worth it. But, you know, in teaching Lennon too, I mean, it's pretty easy. Like she's going to go through life having two moms. And, you know, while it's probably an easier conversation and more mainstream today than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's still, you know, something that she's probably going to wonder. So, you know, my messaging to her is I'm going to look at her instead of looking in the mirror and say, you know, you have to be your true self. That's probably the biggest gift that you can give yourself. So, and again, I found that, you know, it's opened up doors for me. It's opened up friendships. It's opened up relationships. And I would say 99.9% of the time, I've gotten a really nice response.
You grew up in Bakersfield, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, don't tell many people that.
I've been to Bakersfield. Your dad grew up. Sorry, your dad grew up as a farmer.
Yes.
How do you gain inspiration and have gained inspiration from him and the sacrifices he made for you?
Yeah.
And how you witnessed what he did in the work that he put in.
Wow, you did your homework. So I'd have more respect for him if he was actually a wine grape grower instead of a table grape grower, because we probably wouldn't be doing this interview and I'd be in the wine industry. No, table grapes. So yes, my dad grows table grapes, has forever. I think just the work ethic. I mean, he gets up at 3:30 in the morning and he's home at 5 or 6. And he's 77 years old and he's still doing it. I mean, he's working for Anthony Vineyards, which is in the Coachella Valley now, and lives in Palm Springs. But just the work ethic. And that was actually my first job. Everyone says, oh, do you remember your first job? My first job was I was 9 years old and I was literally stamping boxes in the grape fields, you know, 110-degree heat, stamping boxes. And then I got promoted putting labels on the boxes. And then I got promoted into weighing the boxes. So just kind of that mindset of hard work to get you places. It started early for me, and it's because of my dad.
One of your first jobs in sports, and Lya Vallat is with us, I'm Bryan Fenley, was being a ball girl for the Padres. And I couldn't help but like the pinned tweet on your Twitter. And here you are making these great plays, like a foul ball during a Padres game, and you're fielding it with such precision. And I saw what Moises Alou said about you and your arm strength.
Yeah.
So where did this come from?
Yeah, good question. My dad was a pretty good athlete, so I could say I got my arm from him. But I mean, talk about like one of the coolest jobs ever, being a ball girl for the Padres. And it happened to be, I was a ball girl for 3 years, but it happened to be one of the years that they went to the World Series. So got to work that, which was amazing. And anyone out there, just right now, if you go to Padres.com, they are hiring a ball girl. I know. I thought about it. I'm like, maybe if I win the Powerball, I can go back and be a ball girl. But anyway, greatest job, clearly. And, you know, it's all about networking, right? So being a ball girl got me into my first job at Channel 4 San Diego, not from Anchorman. There was a Channel 4 San Diego, broadcast all the Padres games. But literally, like, the coolest job. And I think yesterday was the anniversary of Tony Gwynn getting called into the Hall of Fame. Literally, I would show up 2 hours before the game. I would go, we'd have these stools that we have to sit on. So I'd go put mine on the left field or in the right field bullpen. Then I go grab some gum and some sunflower seeds. Then I just go into the outfield and shag balls during batting practice, throw, you know, talk to some, you know, visiting players that come in that you know, maintain friendships with. And then like 20 minutes before the game, sometimes a player would look at me and go like this, like, okay, warm me up. So stand in front of the dugout, warming them up, and then sit back down. But many times I would just sit and talk to Tony about hitting. He just wanted to talk about hitting, and he would tee me up on some stuff like, Leo, what did you see? And but he was, I mean, talk about innovative. He was down in the bleachers, like after every game with beta machines, analyzing every single thing about his swing. I mean, his craft to the game. And so it was almost like, you know, sitting next to Ted Williams every single day and being able to talk to him about something that he was like the best in the world at. So it was the coolest job I'll ever have. I'll just admit that. And it was technically my second job, but it's just invaluable and taught me a lot, but amazing. Very blessed to have been there.
As someone who grew up in San Diego, I was a very frequent watcher of Channel 4 as a kid, and certainly the Padres. And what I've noticed, Lya, is that you working with Channel 4, that seems to be a gold mine for future sports media talent to go on and do incredible things. You, for one, Scott Heck is somebody else who's been on.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Davis has been on. So what was it working with this crew that you think has led to these incredible things happening, and what you saw from them at that formative time in those late 90s when the Padres were the hit and Channel 4 was up and running?
Well, I think just luck of working with very talented people that are driven and that at the end of the day are just very good people. Nick Davis is one of my best friends.
Aww.
And he actually hired me. And yeah, it was probably a couple years ago. He kept the email. And I was like, oh, did you dust that off? I mean, that was so long ago. I'm like, we emailed back then? Okay, good. Yeah, that existed. Great. But he gave me the opportunity, and it's just very lucky. But it was the culture it created from the top. So Dennis Morgino was our general manager, and he was a veteran in the news business. And, you know, he left the grind to kind of come to more of a magazine type show / live game. And he really fought for everybody, and he didn't micromanage, and he supported. And I'll never forget it. I was there for 6.5 years. I grew from a production assistant all the way up to a producer. And I got an opportunity to go to Bristol and be a studio producer for Sports Center, basically all the studio shows, and in Bristol, Connecticut. And so I thought that when I was going to go in and tell him about it, that he was just going to be like, okay, how could you leave us? We gave you your first start. How can we keep you here? He looked at me, and a little bit of a tear in his eye, and I might tear up talking about this. He looked at me and he goes, I am so proud of you.
Oh.
And tearing up. Okay, this comes with being a new mom. I think you get emotional too. I'll add that into the patience part. But it was kind of like a father-dad type of moment. But it really did, you know, show me like, okay, I have been so lucky to work in this family type atmosphere with some of the best people in the industry locally that I could be associated with. So
besides your dad and your wife and Lennon, who's your biggest inspiration?
Well, gosh, I would say my mom. Okay, again, you're gonna make me cry. No, on the sports side of things, my dad, and work ethic, my dad. But on, you know, who I'm more like, personality-wise, and things that I've just really, you know, picked up from my mom and have carried it through my life. So I would say my mom, and unfortunately, she passed away about 15 years ago of ALS. And it was, you know, awful. She was a teacher her whole life and spoiled her kids and was just awesome, created all these different after school programs and picture lady, like taught her kids art, and was just such a kind, loving soul, funny. And so definitely gone too soon, but I would say up until her passing, and obviously till today, and through the rest of my life, and hopefully the rest of Lennon's life, she will be the ultimate role model.
Absolutely. And 2 days ago, we taped this on January 11th, and it's been 17 years since I was a teenager and my dad passed away. So
Oh, wow.
we have different experiences, clearly, a father and a mother, but both losing a parent at an early age, at an earlier age, I can empathize with that. But I also can empathize with how what you've done since has not only honored her and those around you, but how do you think and want people to perceive you as a source of motivation? You pointed out all the different ways in which you are moving people. What does that look like and the impact you want to have on not just the sports media field, but all you come in contact with?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Yes.
I guess, I just want to leave a mark, and I want to do everything that I can do to, when I leave this world, to have some type of legacy or some type of remembrance or some type of impact in someone's life. And, I think just being a woman in this industry, it's been hard. It's been tough. You hear sometimes that women don't back each other up and it's competitive, but I found it to be totally the opposite, because there's not a lot of us, at high levels and doing what we're doing. And so I think just obviously taking care of all of those that we see something in, that we can mentor, that, we can hope someday falls into our shoes. Just to leave a legacy of someone that really worked hard, treated everyone with respect, and was there for others, and really cared about others rather than just themselves. And that would be something, if people could say that about me moving forward when I'm no longer here, that would be amazing.
Lya, they're already saying that about you. Your unselfishness radiates in the workplace. It also radiates in the family. Lya Vallat, I'm Bryan Fenley. Really appreciate you doing this. I really am honored to have you on, and thanks so much for sharing your story.
Of course. Thanks, Bryan. Appreciate it.